I think the reality of that illusion of protection being gone is allowing us to see things, feel things.
We are all spirit beings in this human vessel here to find our way back to love. And an act of love is seeing our neighbor as divine beings born of worthiness. Who deems one as worthy? No, we are all worthy. I had this false understanding that my worth was tied to how productive I was.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Shut Up and Heal podcast. I am your host, Dr. D. Some of you may know me as your ancestral healing coach. Others may know me as your good old sis. And others may know me as a founder of a wellness tech company. Regardless, I'm excited to be here in this conversation featuring some amazing practitioners from Amarize. Now, Amarize is a platform that connects you to the right wellness modality and practitioner at the right time of your journey. So we are excited to be chatting more, getting to know the practitioners and facilitators. And today we have Bree. We are so excited to have the meditative woman and author with a passion for spirituality and transformative growth and liberation. We also want to recognize how many great things you have done, being founder and CEO of Bryana Clover LLC and founder and CEO of Clover Joy Collective. So today we're going to be chatting more and learning about your work in spirituality and embodied racial justice advocacy, along with how oppression and justice can live in the body, in the home, and in the community. So really
Yes.
excited to dive in. I'm just going to pass it over so you can say hi, Bree.
Yes. Hi. I'm so happy to be here and in this space. Thank you for having me.
Oh, of course. No, thank you for being here. I know we've had several conversations and I'm just like, ooh, we should have recorded a podcast from these
No,
conversations. But we're here now, so we'll take
we're here
it.
now. And I was like, will we remember? And I'm like, no, we won't
No,
remember, but whatever needs to be channeled will be channeled for this
absolutely.
podcast.
Absolutely. So, like, I feel like so many people might not even know exactly what your work is or the parameters around your work. So, I would love to just kind of kick things off with you sharing with the audience and defining like your work when we think of spirituality and embodied racial justice work and advocacy. What does that mean?
Thank you for asking. And I still find myself practicing how to articulate the potency and the evolution of my medicine. But in this season, how I'm describing it is for me, and I believe for it should be this way for everyone, is that my spirituality and my racial justice and social justice advocacy is inextricably linked. I believe that we are all spirit beings in this human vessel here to find our way back to love, right? And an act of love is seeing our neighbor as divine beings born of worthiness. And I talk a lot too just about worthiness being a social construct too. Like, who deems one as worthy? No, we are all worthy. So my journey started, I grew up in the church and I had a fairly beautiful church experience. A lot of my early mentors came from the church. And it wasn't until I was an adult and starting my own family when I realized that the church was falling short in many ways, predominantly white church in an institution where racial oppression is the bedrock. So that's really, I would say my journey started before that, but that's when it really became more of a conscious journey of understanding my spirituality and remembering the roots of my lineage and the ways in which we practice spirituality, which one does not find in the white church. Does not find that. So I worked in corporate for over 13 years and then ended up quitting to do the work of racial justice and equity. But I still took the harmful practices from my corporate experience into my entrepreneurship and very quickly burned out and very quickly became discouraged. And so here I am now showing up as an imperfect human with what I believe to be very important medicine for these times to help us remember And also to understand that our work, whatever, however we define that, requires a level of awareness of the systems in which we are sharing our medicine.
Mm.
So even if one does not call themselves a racial justice advocate, or even doesn't even label that in their business, there should still be a level of awareness and focus on that. Yeah, I'll stop there because I can tend to kind of ramble a little bit, but that's how I'm describing the work so far.
Yeah,
Or
no,
this.
this is great, and I loved how you shared the piece about carrying the learned behavior and understanding from the workplace into your entrepreneurship, and then facing what I think a lot of us have faced. And I have worked in corporate, burnt myself out in corporate, gone to entrepreneurship with a lot of those same learned behaviors and burnt myself out very quickly as well. And I don't think we talk about this often. So, especially how our body and our mind keeps score of all of this. So, I would love if we can dive into that a little bit more, what you've learned from your experience, how we can keep score of things.
Okay, and so your question was how
So,
we
yeah.
understand the way the body keeps the score.
Yeah, especially when we think about racial harm
Mm,
and when we are the ones being oppressed, like how our body can keep score, and even some ways it shows up for us even after we leave said environment.
yes. Okay. That's a beautiful question. And I feel like I could answer it so many ways. But I think the first important step is understanding the historical context of racism. Because many of us move throughout our jobs or our life very unaware at a conscious level of the ways in which we are perpetuating our own oppression or ways in which the system harms us. So I think the first step for me anyways was just understanding the characteristics of white culture and being able to recognize it in the moment with a level of grace and love, right? Because I think also so many of like the DEI in the corporate context, especially, is like this thought that we can perfect DEI. And when you begin to learn that perfection is a characteristic of white culture, then you can shift your goal to from perfection to awareness. And with awareness, we can then interrupt the harmful patterns in the moment with a level of grace and love for ourselves or for whoever we're in relationship with. So I think the first step is just understanding what those characteristics are and understanding the level of historical context to why that came to be. So for me, the characteristics that I really internalized is I was rewarded for I had this false understanding that my worth was tied to how productive I was, right? In the historic, like in the corporate context, is like your worth and your value is measured by how productive you can, like how you can be, turn out and, turn out all the work. So that was a characteristic I took to my entrepreneurial journey. So it was just another grind mentality. And that is why I left corporate, was to escape the grind. And so that kind of connects to how the body keeps the score, because I was doing things not conscious to myself, but my body had internalized this: your value is based on how much like how productive you are. So I think that what's missing in a lot of the context of racial justice advocacy is the somatics behind the work. And I'm not the one who like made that up. I learned this from Resma Menakem reading his book, My Grandmother's Hands. That's when the light bulb went off for me. So I think there's even a book called The Body Keeps the Score. I haven't read it. But if one understands intergenerational trauma and like the actual science, if you will, behind it, we can understand that like we can't think our way through healing. We can't attend enough workshops to heal. So,
No. Oh my
yeah.
gosh. I want to frame that right there. No.
Yeah.
So
No,
you
stop.
can't, like, can it be valuable in maybe your journey as you're trying to heal? Yes, but that is not the end all be all.
No. And yeah, you're exactly. And I think that that's again, that corporate mindset. I mean, even once I realized that for myself, it became harder to do the work in a corporate context because a lot of my clients were corporations. The more I understood that for myself, the harder it was for me to continue doing the work for organizations because the organizations hadn't changed. There's this performative, let's check the box to this, to let's say we did all the trainings, let's say we hired the expert so that we can just check the box and move on. And as we can see, given the current state of our country, that is not sustainable. And now there always has been. But now it's so obvious that even someone who doesn't ever turn on the news can understand that DEI is under attack. And I'm going to say something controversial, but it needs to be. Not in the ways in which, not in the ways necessarily that our leadership is, but there needs to be a wake-up call. And that's why I feel like I've channeled Sekhmet energy, the ancient goddess, Egyptian goddess, Sekhmet energy, because I very much am in a season where we have to burn certain things down so that we can create something new.
Absolutely. And, I'm very aligned with you in the sense of DEI for me as well. My perspective is it never worked. Let's be honest. It was really just a way to allow corporations to not get into legal trouble. That is why
Yes.
it was put in place. And when we're seeing corporations take it out of place, I think they're just showing that like it's exactly this. They only put it in there for legal issues.
Yeah.
The moment they figured out that maybe we won't even get in legal troubles for not having this, they ripped it straight out. So like let them speak. Let's listen and let's look at everything here. And then we also
Yes.
know that DI really did not benefit a lot of people that look like us.
Exactly.
It wasn't, and then let's be for real, when I say benefit, like what benefit?
Yeah.
Is
Speak on it.
okay.
Yeah.
There's not, it really didn't give us much opportunity. It was a very small percentage that really applied to Black and brown men, and especially women.
Yes.
So it's like, okay, now that people are showing that for exactly who they are, and we no
Mm-hmm.
longer have, in a sense, DEI kind of was, I think, with being and coming from a corporate background similar to you too, I feel like in the workplace, it was almost like a shield of protection that we felt within our community. That DI was going to protect us from this. These ERGs were going to protect us. Like we felt like there was something protecting us. Now, a lot of us got deeper down into things and realized like that was no, it's just a marketing scheme at the end of the day. But I think the reality of that illusion of protection being gone is allowing us to see things, feel things, and get to the point where we're like, hey, we as a community and the various communities out there, we have got to move differently. We can no longer hide behind
Yes.
different letters, different marketing schemes, different brandings when it's still the same just a different day.
Yes.
And it's also allowing it where even us as Black and brown people are not dealing with a lot of the emotions that we need to process, a lot of the grief that we need to
Exactly.
process, a lot of the lessons that we need to move forward with because we got comfortable behind this like fake armor, this fake shield of protection. And I'm
I
kind of,
love,
no,
sorry, I
go,
was going to
go.
say, but like, I love that you said the illusion of protection. That's what it was. And I could even witness for certain organizations that were my clients, the few Black people in the organization, it's crazy making. Because when you realize, when you're in that environment and you realize, when you notice the illusion of protection, it's like your whole world crumbles and you are gaslit to thinking that you're the troublemaker, that you're the issue. So I have witnessed when that illusion of protection, the veil is revealed or taken away or whatever. It's crazy making. It's crazy making for the person of color who feels like, oh, this is great. I'm working for a company that has an African American ERG and I'm, like I'm on the DEI board. And then they start realizing, they start like seeing it for what it is. And then they're gaslit into thinking, that they're the problem, that, the organization is doing what they need to do. They have all these pretty, websites and, commitments and declarations. So I just want to say, like, I love the way you frame that as like the illusion of protection. That's exactly what it is. And I think that the people who have voted against or supported getting rid of DEI don't understand the legal ramifications of that, because they see it as, well, that was 400 plus years ago. We don't have a race problem in America. So why do we keep talking about it? Like, that's the reason why they want to dismantle it, right? You're getting excited over there.
Oh my God. Oh, wait, we need like 37 days straight to talk about this. Wow.
Yes.
Yes. And I love how you're saying it. Please keep going.
I like, and I'm saying this recognizing that I'm sitting comfortably right now, right? Like, I'm in an apartment where I feel relatively safe. And so this is not to dismiss the very real danger that I feel like we are collectively in this time. But also, I have a level of peace and understanding that what we're experiencing is late stage capitalism. And this is the natural progression that needs to happen. Or actually, I shouldn't say natural. This is the progression that needs to happen for those of us who were called to create a new earth, new paradigms. We have the ability to step up and create from the ashes, right? And we can't do that with a veil over our face. We can't do that with the illusion of protection. So, as painful as it is, I truly believe it is necessary. And that is the business I'm in, the healing business I'm in, is to help people remember. Help people remember why their souls came at this point in time. It was for a reason. And to tap into the honorable ancestral wisdom that they're connected to, the source wisdom that they're connected to, the earth wisdom that they're connected to, so that we really can create something new.
And you said the word remember. And I think that is a challenging word for a lot of people to digest. And in a society, in a culture here, where it is pushed upon us to forget, where even like it's really bad today, but even when we were growing up, history was very painted, and we learned through a lens that allowed for the dismissing of so many crucial details and aspects of history, or what led to said event. So I think and I'm really big on vocabulary, the power of words, decolonizing our language and everything. It's like remembering.
Yes.
That is something hard for folks to digest, because in remembering, that means you actually have to face the emotions. You have to have and hold accountability in space and in time. You you start seeing things and perspectives that oftentimes you're not ready for, or you think you're not ready for. And the way it shakes your mind, your body, your spirit can be, I don't even know the language to describe this, but it's like it will change your entire life.
Yeah. It's liberating.
And it absolutely is. At the same time, it's going to make you face your guilt and the guilt of your ancestors, which I think a
Yes.
lot of folks are not ready for. It's also going to make you face the powers that you have and the powers of your ancestors. Like this, it's almost like a duality, but they exist in harmony. And I think folks are so scared of addressing one aspect that they don't realize how much of the other aspect they're bringing down with them. So it's like,
Yes.
do we really not want to remember and continue to repeat the same 250 years over and over and over and over again? And I think the time you're talking about is now. The energy is so right for us to
Yes.
transform. I know the word revolution's coming around. I don't necessarily know how I sit with that word, but I get it. And I think it's just like, are we wanting to repeat the same about 250-year pattern that we continue to do? Are we trying to have the same 150 years over and over and over again and 100 years of just to go back to do it again? Hmm.
Right. And it's like, it's almost like we need, well, we are recording ourselves, but we need to be reminded of this, you know, because it's so easy for us to fall back to sleep. Our culture has been designed to lead us back into a coma. That
Yeah.
historical amnesia is not an accident, you know? And I love that you're talking, Resma Menakem talks about clean pain versus dirty pain. And I'm not going to do it justice, but just on the surface level, what he means is dirty pain is the avoidance. It's the denial. It's recognizing, or it's recognizing the pain of actually metabolizing the truth, metabolizing the remembrance, right? And so one chooses denial or avoidance. But that just means, that doesn't mean it goes away. That means that our bodies just hold on to that. And that's what causes dis-ease. That's what causes disharmony on a physical and spiritual level, right? Where he says clean pain is recognizing that when we metabolize the pain, we allow the body to process it and release it. And in order to release it and process it, you have to feel it. You have to move through it.